Good morning and welcome to another episode of Josh and Pat. I'm Joshua Klein, joined by Patrick Cassett, and you may need to adjust your top 10 quarterbacks list this year because Andrew Luck is back. Allegedly, the Colts have reached out to Andrew Luck to inquire about his availability this season. Jim Irsay promptly responded with, anybody who reaches out to Andrew Luck is effectively tampering. They have dibs on him. Now, Patrick, what do you make of this situation? And should we expect Andrew Luck to be on the field this year?
Josh, it's always good to just throw out a reminder on a Sunday night in the offseason that your retired quarterback is still yours. You have rights to him. Hey, he's yours. If he comes back, that's okay. It's never mind the fact that Colts just drafted Anthony Richardson. Hey, they still got the rights to Andrew Luck. So if he ever wants to come back, come on down, Andrew. We'll take you back in Indianapolis.
Dang, well, yeah, it seems like obviously the Colts would be excited about that. Anthony Richardson probably less excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
But the big thing about the Commanders reaching out is, Patrick, they actually didn't just reach out for Andrew Luck.
Well, and that's the thing, Josh, is the Commanders, they said, you know what? We need a quarterback. So what are we going to do? We're going to reach out to every single team in the league. They pick up the phone, they make 31 calls. Josh, I don't know if this is breaking news, but they called the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes not available for trade. He was not available. Chiefs elected to hold on to him.
Or maybe the Chiefs just won a little bit more than Commanders were willing to give up.
And that's a conversation we don't know.
Now,
we weren't behind the scenes.
Now, what is interesting is they actually didn't have to reach out to 31 teams, the Commanders, because one of the quarterbacks, you could have just reached out to him directly. He hadn't signed a franchise tender. So the Commanders reach out for Andrew Luck, who not even one of the current roster quarterbacks of the Colts, I guess, had to have reached out for Lamar, right?
Well, but Josh, you don't understand. Lamar said there was a lie. He said, she said, look, he wanted to be a Raven. He
Yeah.
said, hey, Flock Nation,
He
he's
didn't even
back in
pick up the
5 years.
phone.
Yeah.
Lamar said that he saw a Washington area code. He didn't even pick up the phone. This is this is interesting. Jim Irsay, one of the few owners who will take Twitter in the way that he does. In the last couple months, he was tweeting out, oh, maybe we're gonna pick this guy. Maybe we're gonna pick that guy. Are we gonna pick Will Levis? I don't know. And then he's reminding everybody, hey, Andrew Luck's our guy. So if he wants to come back and play, he's not playing for the Commanders.
But is Andrew Luck going to come back? Apparently, he shot it down. He said, nope, he's not coming back. But Josh, is this finally the time? He takes many years off. He comes back. Is Andrew Luck back in luck?
Unfortunately, he's probably one of the less lucky guys in the league. So I would say no. So, hey, good for Andrew. I guess, sticking to retirement. Hope it's treating you well. Jokic beat up the Suns owner.
Whoa.
Heading on to some NBA news. I saw a video of Jokic assaulting the Suns owner at last night's game. Usually not a good look.
Josh, Jokic said Suns owner put his hands on him first. He thought the league was supposed to protect the players, and instead, he's saying the league is protecting the owner.
So this was justified.
Right.
This is like he's trying to defend himself, because clearly when you look at the two of them, he's like, this guy's gotta stand his ground.
Right. And we know that any NBA player that can drop 53 in a game also happens to be 7 foot tall is going to be scared of the average 5'10" guy, right?
Yes.
And you're looking at him and you know that's a mismatch because he's flaunting the money. You don't know if there's going to be security guards that are going to come out of nowhere. You have no clue. Now, Jokic, he's got the Jokic brothers. He's got his brothers, and I'm sure they're ready to help. But you got to feel bad for Jokic, because in that scenario, it's not an even fight.
Now, and I will say this, all jokes aside, biggest flop ever by the Suns owner. I mean, touch him. That's exactly
Yeah,
how it
well,
went
I'm happy
down.
that Chris Paul. I'm happy that Chris Paul's rubbing off on some people there. He's the acting skills because we know how good Chris is. He's got his
Hmm.
brother Cliff.
Hmm.
Cliff can help out with the insurance policies if there's
Bingo.
anything there, and
Bingo.
and that's always good to have.
Well, now it's so despite Jokic dropping 50, beating up Suns owner, getting a tech, Suns tie up the series, right?
They did
And now
tied two.
it gets interesting. You head back, Nuggets home court advantage. Hope you assume they're going to be able to get it done with that, right?
I
And
mean, you would think. You would think.
you would think I mean, good for the Suns. I mean, a lot of people were saying after the first game, Nuggets in 4. So it's good for the Suns for making this competitive. I don't think they have the bench to be able to finish this series. I don't.
I
It
mean, we
feels
said it
like
all along.
everything has to go right for them to win, and I just don't expect that happening every single game.
Spin zone. Jokic dropped 50, and they still won.
So maybe they figure something out. They're doing something right. So I don't know. Personally, hey, pull. I'm not pulling for you, the Suns, but I was gonna say I was pulling for you. Not. Maybe you can get it done though. Who knows? But you know who is getting it done, Patrick, in the
Who's
NBA
that?
space? James Harden. James
Hey,
Harden
shout out
is
James.
in his prime form right
Mhm.
now as the 76ers tie up the series with Boston. Another great series, 2-2. And Harden was at one point, I think we forget the conversations that were happening surrounding Harden, Patrick. There's one point where we were like, does Harden care more about going to the strip club than basketball?
That was a conversation we were having. Yes.
Is Harden the is he a big fat slob? That was another thing that we were having.
Yes.
Now we're like, Harden's carrying this team to a championship potentially.
Yeah. You think about James Harden, you think about a championship caliber player because
Oh,
if we know
bingo.
anything, we know of how he's gotten it done in the finals before. He's a big time player, shows up in the big time moments. We know that. But Josh, I got to ask, would you rather have James Harden or a player of his caliber just drop 25 every game? Or would you rather him over the course of these 4 games show up and drop 40 plus for 2 of them and then be absolutely horrendous for the other 2?
Hmm. Well, maybe you're guaranteed to get the wins potentially, or you're more likely to get the wins on the ones where he drops 42,
Smart
and
thinking.
then you just hope that on the other ones somebody else on the team can show up. But then at least 2 of the games you're feeling pretty good about your chances.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in
And, you,
20
and you're talking about another series now, Josh. It's tied 2-2. I mean, are the Celtics
yeah.
in trouble? Because if we know anything, we know Boston sports towns. Oh my gosh, it's had such a tough run here in the last 20 years. They've
Mhm.
lost a couple Super Bowls. They've
They
lost the Stanley
they
Cup
they lost.
final.
Yeah, they had the greatest
Lost an NBA
team.
finals last year,
Had the
Josh.
had the greatest NHL hockey team of all time.
Yeah,
And
it's
they didn't win the championship. So it's been tough for them.
bad sports town.
Bad sports town. And James Harden is doing everything he can to send them home. So good for James. Good for James. That comeback player of the year.
Well, can you win comeback player of the year if you only show up half the time?
I guess it depends on how good that half time is.
Because I'd argue that half the time that he's showing up is like really, really good,
Yeah.
right?
Listen, if you batted 500 in baseball,
You're the best ever.
you're the best ever. So,
Is James Harden the best ever?
I mean, that's a question that we have to ask. We'll talk about that on another show. But speaking of 500, Patrick, you know who's almost below 500?
Who's that, Josh?
Now, this is going to come as a shock. It's the Yankees.
No,
Yankees,
no way, Josh. They're
now,
definitely they're leading the division, right?
actually the contrary, Patrick. Believe it or not, I know, and I had to double check this. Yankees are in last place, one game above 500, and slipping. Now,
There's no way. But Josh, there's no possible way because they spend a bunch of money on their team every year.
I know. Can you believe that even though they were able to secure Aaron Judge, was
Arson.
Arson Judge wasn't enough. And even though they have basically the second coming of Derek Jeter playing shortstop, not enough apparently.
Yeah, no, I saw something. I think I woke up in a dream last night. It was weird. They had Garrett Cole on the mound yesterday, and they gave him 6 runs of run support, and then all of a sudden they blew the lead late in the game. It was the weirdest dream I ever woke up from.
Wild.
It was, yeah. I guess the Rays won or something. I don't know.
So what world do we live in where the New York sports teams are like, we're feeling really good about the Jets. We're feeling pretty terrible about the Yankees. We were at one point feeling pretty good about the Mets. Not feeling as strong about that now. And
Knicks are doing okay.
Knicks are doing all right. It's like who before that were horrendous. And the Giants, we don't know how we feel about the Giants. I don't think anybody knows. But it's like if you live in New York right now, your hands are tied, I feel like, for a lot of sports. You're kind of confused. You're used to one thing, nothing's happening, or vice versa. The Yankees, unfortunately, will probably figure this out.
Yeah, no, they'll figure it out. If we know anything about these guys, is that
MLB is sending them a brand new box of juice balls as we speak.
yeah, because you got to help them out in the Bronx there.
You got to.
It's such a tough.
You got to juice the balls there because if you look at where the location is geographically, maybe the balls don't fly as much there, so you got to compensate.
And Josh, we know that's such a big ballpark. It's so tough to hit in. So
yeah, you gotta you gotta get a little bit more.
Well, they need help, Josh, and that's the thing is when you look at the Yankees, you go, man, it's a perennial franchise. I mean, how many World Series have they won in the last 10 years? Probably like 3, 4.
Yeah,
right.
That is, I will say, just side note, that is the worst thing. Like, why aren't all baseball fields the same size?
Josh, I disagree.
That's just like if I had the Ravens field goal posts were like this wide, and then you go to like another places and their field goal post is like this wide, and so it's like so it's like, oh yeah, well, like Justin Tucker, he's the greatest kicker of all time, but he's kicking through a field goal. He's made the most field goals this year, but at half of his games he's kicking on a field goal post that are 40 yards wide. It's like, wait a second.
Well, yeah, and that's what you would
get. Why are we? Why can't we just? Why shouldn't all these be the same? Because wouldn't that drastically change the numbers?
Well, but Josh, you got to think about it. Sometimes some stadiums are kicker stadiums, some aren't. Right? You go to Pittsburgh, it's notoriously a hard place to kick. But I mean,
I'm just saying. What are we doing? It's like this is why people think the MLB is a joke. But continue.
That's the reason why the MLB. That's why people think MLB is
you're right.
a joke.
Dang, MLB does so many things against. Like they just love to shoot themselves in the leg. Yeah, and you're right. Yankees, I mean, obviously a couple championships in the past few years, so they're pretty good, right?
Yeah, no, they're fine. We know, and not even championships. They probably have like a dozen World Series appearances this century.
Yep.
So they'll be fine. I'm sure they'll get up.
They'll be good. Well, we're rooting for them. Anyway, moving on to NASCAR. Yesterday we were in Kansas. Now, Kansas, historically, the races are either pretty good, pretty terrible, pretty awful. Yesterday was pretty good. It was pretty solid.
Some people call it race of the year, Josh.
Pause. Disagree. That being said, the last 20 laps were electric. Kyle Larson trying to hold off Denny Hamlin. Kyle Larson, I mean, very loose. Very loose. Clipped the wall once. Almost lost the lead. Stays in it. But you knew every lap it was like, is he going into the wall this lap? It was that close. Then one to go. Denny Hamlin comes in to make a move, side drafts him, gets him loose. He's struggling to hold on. And then just as he drives by, Denny gives a little clip. And into the wall Larson goes. Denny Hamlin wins. Gets out of his car to a standing ovation of boos. And then, simultaneously, Ross Chastain is punching Noah Gragson in the face. So it was a very eventful last little series there. Let's start with the Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson bit. Patrick, what did you see here and what side of it are you on? Because the internet seems to be split.
Josh, it's a racing incident, right? So these two guys, they're running hard, right? It's one of those things where neither one of them are going to give an inch there on the last lap. Denny Hamlin just gets him in the left rear there, and obviously hooks him into the wall. But I mean, if you're looking at it the other way, I mean, if you're Kyle Larson, he does the same thing. We've seen Kyle Larson, in these situations, he's not afraid to use up some track, which I think's a good thing. You're racing hard. A win's a win, and you want to try to get it. Denny Hamlin, he gets a win, locks himself up for the playoffs, and I didn't see a problem with what happened.
Here's what I would say. I wouldn't have had a problem until he made contact. Because, get him loose. That's great. Yeah, it's a bad look when you clip him. And Denny Hamlin even said himself, hey, if it was that happened to me, I'd be ticked.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. But Kyle Larson would do the same thing, Josh.
Kyle Larson's a class act. And by the way,
really, you're another. You're going to tell me that Kyle Larson has just he's just a child boy. He's a poster child.
Yeah. He's a great track record. Come on, Patrick. What are we doing? Kyle Larson, I'd be ticked if I was Kyle Larson. But
also
Denny Hamlin hated in the NASCAR space right now.
Denny Hamlin is the best thing to happen in NASCAR in probably this century, because Denny Hamlin is a guy that is actually trying to advance the sport. You love him, you hate him, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's bringing new ideas. He's bringing fresh ideas. And a time where NASCAR is trying to mute what the drivers are saying, NASCAR hates Denny Hamlin. They hate him.
No,
that's why he gets these penalties, right? So he's going out. He's bringing a personality. Whether you like him, you don't. He's good for NASCAR.
No, I agree in the sense that I do think he's good for the sport, and we do need a little bit more these storylines, a little bit more villains in the sport. He is hated, and he might get booed every single race for the rest of the year, because
I think it's a false hate. You go online, this bracket challenge he's doing, man, it's catching a lot of buzz. I think a lot of people like him.
Maybe, but I think if you're a Hendrick fan, you do not. So, and that's like 90%.
Oh, you know who happens to be really good friends?
Michael Jordan,
Kyle Larson, and Denny Hamlin. So I'm sure everything's fine.
Maybe. Okay, let's go to this Ross Chastain, Noah Gragson bit then. If you think that there's nothing to be, it's just racing, for the first bit or for the first incident. Ross Chastain, Noah Gragson. Ross Chastain gets him loose, right? And in a pass, that's correct. That's what happened, right?
And Gragson got tight off the corner because Chastain's trying to say, or Gregson's trying to say that Chastain ran him with the track or whatever. Look, Chastain said, I gave him exactly one line. And I don't see any problem with what Chastain did. He didn't run him up into the wall. He didn't force him on entry. Look, it's racing. If you're not going to try to get every little competitive advantage over your counterparts on the track, then what is this?
Yeah, and I guess Gragson was upset about how Chastain also what he did, how he's not helped him in the past few races. Apparently,
he got mad that Chastain got a better restart than him at Talladega last week, forced it 3 wide, and didn't work with him because he's a Chevy partner. Let's throw this out, Josh. This week, Legacy Motor Club announced they're moving to Toyota next year.
So
okay,
yeah.
So they're a lame duck situation in the Chevrolet camp anyway, right? So why is Chastain having to work with him? You put yourself in a bad situation. Not to mention Gregson right now. I think Noah Gregson's good for the sport as well, but he's not good.
Terrible
Like
haircut.
his bars
Terrible
are not
haircut.
good, right? And his haircut is awful.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's the biggest
so
thing.
I mean, Noah Gregson, like, what are you doing here? I get that you're trying
Well,
to make a stand, make a voice. I'm okay with that, but like, that's the incident you
well,
choose to be
also
mad with.
he was not like it's not like they were racing for position there. Gregson was like a couple like laps down. So it's like wait a
Well, and then Gregson made a comment. He goes, "Well, Chastain laps me once or twice a race, so I'll have plenty of times to get him back." Wait, what do you mean? Wait, you just admitted that you suck on the track, and then you're gonna try to like wreck a good car?
yeah.
That's a bad look.
Well, and then you also look at the actual like take away all of that, take out of the situation, and just focus on the actual altercation. I mean, Gregson put his hands on Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain says, "Don't put your hands on me." That's even if so say Chastain just straight up wrecked him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And completely justified. Once you initiate contact, though, of course he's going to fight back, whether he's justified or not. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
we see with Jokic. Jokic says Suns owner puts his hands on him first. He gives him a little shove. Jokic
Exactly.
gets the technical. Here, Gregson puts the hands on Chastain. Chastain verbally tells him, "Don't do that. Don't do that." And
He's
what I didn't know,
yeah,
Josh, is I didn't know that watermelon farmers and race car driver Ross Chastain could deliver a right hook like that,
dude. It was quick. It was quick.
because it was quick and he landed a punch there. But the security guards, man, they got in there quick. They were trying to break it up.
Oh yeah,
They're trying to.
they were like, hey, we're not letting this happen. And now if I was NASCAR, I would have said, hey, just give him space. Give him space. Let's see what happens here. But NASCAR, they don't want uh conflict in their sport. They want it to be if it was up to NASCAR, the races would be like when you go to an amusement park and you get to drive your car on that little like line that tells you where you got to go, so you can't just drive anywhere you want, and you get to drive. You're kind of driving, but you're not really driving because you're on this like little track, and they could put all the cars on one of those so that there's no way you could possibly hit each other, and then therefore no drivers could get upset with each other, and then they could all hug at the end.
Yeah, because I mean that's what happens every week. We know that's what should happen, right?
That's what should happen per NASCAR. So you know, so that's what
Josh, that was a
happens.
vicious right hand though, and Gregson couldn't get him back.
Oh yeah, Gregson. Well, I don't even think Gregson wanted to. Gregson, this was perfect scenario for Gregson because he gets punched,
Is it perfect scenario for
no,
Gregson?
but then he doesn't have the opportunity to punch back, because if he had the opportunity to punch back, then I think he might have been exposed for somebody who's not a good fighter. And then now it looks like, well, I tried to get him, they held me back, you know.
Yeah, but he also he didn't block the punch at all.
Yeah, but it was quick. It would have been hard to block. I think I could have blocked it, but I don't know. Chastain, man, he's been in the news 2 weeks in a row now.
Ross Chastain, I love him. He's great.
Good for you, Chastain. Anyway, that's the show. Make sure you guys DM us on Instagram at Picks and Pancakes for not only a free mug, but also a $10 McDonald's gift card that you can use to buy everything at McDonald's. Make sure you guys also go to our website, picksandpancakes.com, to read everything that's happening in sports. And you have a wonderful week. A peace. Boom. Short and
Good
sweet.
stuff, Josh. I gotta get going.
Get going, man. I gotta get going too. My sister's senior thesis projects today, so I gotta get ready for that.
Nice. Well, I will. I'll talk to you later, brother.
Take it easy, man. Hey, let me know when you're on the road.
Yep. Peace out.
Peace out.